Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with Client Focused Media. Today I'm super excited to bring Chris Clark from Clark.Law, a data-driven law firm. And they're the future of business law with data, technology, and efficiency. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Alex. How about yourself?
I'm short, bold, and incredible, and thank you for asking. So we talked a little bit before we came on camera, right? And I think you have a pretty cool story. So real quick as an intro, how did you become a lawyer and why did you choose the path you're in?
Yeah. So, when I got out of high school, I think, if you talk to people who knew me back then, they would identify me as a musician and somebody that was just really super into music. I was into performing music. I was into watching and enjoying and listening to music. And so it ended up going to undergrad as a music major. And part of what that path entailed was I got into audio engineering, both in recording studios and live sound venues and things like that, doing some audio and video editing, which is why I've got such an admiration for what you guys do here on Ask the Attorney, because I know a little bit into what goes into the behind the scenes work that goes on. And just eventually through my undergrad curriculum, fell in love with the space where creativity and technology and business and law overlap. And, not to date myself too much, but, leading up to right about when I was starting law school was when there was an application called Napster. It was a file sharing platform that came along and really raised a lot of unique and novel issues where those things I just described, music, technology, business, law, all overlapped. And so that's what led me into having sort of a passion to learn more about the law and eventually go to law school and become a lawyer.
Yeah, some of us who are of that vintage, we obviously, some of our favorite acts actually were in litigation with Napster because of everything that went down, right? I mean, I have this intellectual property and you're giving it away primarily, so you're costing me sales. People aren't coming to my concerts. There was a whole lot of things going on there. So I can completely understand how you thought, well, this is an avenue to go to. And I respect you for it. I think that's awesome. So going into, Clark.Law, we're here and you have about 70-30 between corporate business and then your copyright, trademark, that kind of stuff. What can you tell us, if you don't mind, like your first case? Do you remember your first case? Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah. So we started this firm 6 years ago. I started it at the time. My wife was my paralegal, and we left a law firm where we were working to start this firm ourselves. And honestly, almost all of the clients that I had been working with at my former law firm transitioned over to the new firm. And so a first case would be tough to nail down because it really was a very smooth transition. But I do remember, and this would have been just a couple of years before I started my firm, when I realized I'd been invited to become an equity partner at my former law firm, and I realized I had to really, analyze my client base and, the hours I was working and things like that. And I do remember when I realized, okay, I really do probably have enough work to support myself. And that's what led me to accept a position of partnership, because I was at a firm where it's really what we call eat what you kill as lawyers. I was really responsible for my salary and the salary of the people that worked with me. And so not so much a first case, but I do consider that as sort of the watershed moment, because after that realization, after realizing, I worked so hard over a long period of time to build up a significant client base. Yeah, I really do have what I need to support myself at the firm where I was, and then eventually go out on my own and take that client base with me. And so more so than like a first case, I would say that was really the memorable moment where I realized, okay, you can be a law firm owner.
Well, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with everything you do for a living. You're taking your client base from one company and putting it into another one. So I'm sure there were some things you had to think about and how it works and how and basically work with yourself the way you would work with a client to make that all work out perfectly. So,
For sure.
by the way, kudos to you. First and foremost, to realizing your self-worth. I think there's a lot of times people out there don't understand their true value. And conversely, there's people who think they have value that really don't. So the big thing is, right, to know where you're at. You were able to prove something by fire, and then say, hey, I have this, and then make this happen. So Clark.Law, to me, that you stand out at that point. I really I think that's awesome. And I want to say to anybody, go ahead.
Let me just interject one thing real quick, Alex. Owning a law firm or any kind of business is definitely not for everybody. I'll be perfectly honest and transparent. It's not for me every day. Some days I wake up and kind of think, hey, what have I done here? What have I done to myself? And part of that is it really has very little to do with the practice of law. It has to do with all the other things that go into business ownership. So, I mean, if there was one thing that I could share with people who maybe were in the position that I was in 6 years ago, and they're realizing their worth, realizing their value, and asking themselves, what are my options going forward? Just, maybe talk to some other, small law firm owners and just learn a little bit about what you're going to face outside the practice of law. Because like I said, to be honest, there are some days I come in here and I don't practice law at all. I'm dealing with things that business owners deal with. And so that was another important realization that I thought I would share.
That's really important. I mean, obviously, I'm a business owner, I have a couple of them. So, well, for what I do, I understand that the actual job itself is one thing, and then there's the people suck moment that, or whatever the case may be, right? That you have the things you deal with on a normal basis, right? So I completely understand what you're saying, and you're right. And maybe they would even be able to maybe negotiate where they're at in a different way, right? To bring value to themselves at that point, not have the headaches of what. The LLC has my name on it, and everything wrapped around that has me. So I completely understand that. That's awesome. So yeah. I'm going to say this: if anybody out there, and of course, in business, because this is it's what we do in business. If you live in North Carolina and you have questions about business law, especially the modernization of business, how things work, I really want you to look up Chris Clark from Clark.Law. Obviously, you can find him online at Clark.Law, or more information right here at iwannabuzz.com. So I want you to do something good for yourself and do something good for others.